Hello, Tim from Fair Play Now on the 2nd of June 2024. So I don't know if you've spotted one of the latest Psy-Ops to emerge, and I call it a Psy-Op because quite honestly it's got all of the hallmarks of a Psy-Op. And when you kind of get to the level of knowledge that I'm at and that you're at if you're watching this channel, they become so easy to spot, don't they, these psyops? Things that the mainstream media would have you believe is a real story, they just in fact twist it and make it into really a psyop in order to get you to comply with a bigger agenda, and it's just so obvious. And the latest one, which has really emerged over the last couple of months, is what I call the Spanish psyop. So you've probably seen these stories emerging from the likes of Tenerife, Lanzarote down there in the Canary Islands, and slightly closer to home in the Balearics, places like Mallorca and Minorca. Apparently there's big protests happening in these sort of places by the locals basically against tourists. I'm sure almost everybody watching this channel will know that these places I've just mentioned are very, very popular tourist destinations for Europeans, and in particular Irish and British tourists. Loads and loads of people go to these places, and apparently, if you believe the mainstream media, the kind of weight of tourism is basically drowning the islands, so much so that the locals are getting highly concerned, and they want less tourists to go to these places every year, and for probably severe controls to come in, meaning that there'll be less tourists going to any of these places. So that is what the mainstream media will have you believe, but there is a guy who has done a video from Lanzarote. Now, just one caveat: this bloke is obviously kind of either runs or owns some kind of Canary Island tourist business. So he's got a bit of a vested interest in what he's saying, I guess. But also he's kind of boots on the ground and knows exactly what's going on these sort of islands and tourist destinations. And he's made a video giving you the full picture. And I think, and as he sort of says as well, these protests that these locals are doing in these places, it's more to do with there's too many, basically so many hotels and holiday apartments and flats and things like that being built in these places, that there's basically no provision being made for the locals and their housing, and therefore their sort of rents and house prices are shooting up, and they just can't handle it. Locals can't afford to get mortgages or to even to rent places, just because there's so many these sort of holiday places being built at the expense of proper sort of homes for the workers there. So that's not a tourist issue. That's kind of to do with the local sort of planning offices and what's going on there. So it's like a Spanish problem. It's not a tourist problem. It's just a problem with the Spanish admin, I'd suggest, in actuality. And of course, we've got the same problem here. I believe you've got the same thing in kind of the more touristy counties of England, like Cornwall and Devon. I think a lot of the locals down there are sort of quite hacked off with people from London and etc., who just go down there, they buy sort of holiday accommodation, and it's empty for most of the year. They're only down there for sort of 2 or 3 weeks a year, and the rest of the time these places are empty, or maybe some of them are sort of rented out via Airbnb, I guess, these days, but a lot of the time they're empty, and these locals who can't afford to get on the property ladder down there are sort of hacked off about it. So it's that kind of issue. It's not like if you go there to Tenerife or Mallorca for your sort of 1 week, 2 week holiday this summer, that you're going to, as soon as you come out the airport, there's going to be an angry crowd of locals pelting you with eggs because you know, they don't want tourists to go there anymore. And if you sort of think about it logically, why is that going to benefit the locals if they stop tourism altogether in these places? Because that's their main livelihood in this day and age, isn't it? There's no denying that places like Tenerife and Mallorca, etc., rely on the tourist trade for all of the local jobs and everything there. So they'd just be sort of cutting off the hand that feeds them if they prevented tourism. So I'd say that these protests are being twisted out of context by the mainstream media here because they've spotted an opportunity to stop people from flying there. You know, all to do with the whole climate thing. You know, they want less and less people to fly. So what better thing to do than to create a Psy-Op saying that basically as a tourist you're not going to be welcome in any of these places anymore. I'd suggest that that is what is really going on, and kind of coupled with that is, I don't know if you've noticed again over the last few weeks, of course it's all in the run up to the summer holidays when everybody are thinking about what they're going to be doing for their summer holidays, and they're just trying to get people not to fly quite as much. So another, what I'd suggest is a Psy-Op, is the mainstream media have been focusing on aircraft incidents recently, haven't they? You know, perhaps to scare people, or various things to do with aircraft, to scare people into not sort of flying anymore or less frequently. So again, that's all part of this Psy-Op to stop people from flying abroad, or to stop them flying abroad so much. And I would suggest that that is what is really going on. It's not that the Spanish are getting really hacked off with tourism and tourists. Why would they, when it's a major part of their economy? No, it's a Psy-Op by the British mainstream media, who are all going along with this kind of Agenda 2030 nonsense, stopping people from travelling, and the best thing to do is to ignore them and book up that holiday and to get yourself to Tenerife or Mallorca or wherever you want to go, and just do it and just ignore the mainstream media. And this bloke, you know, who lives on the ground there in Lanzarote and maybe other places in the Canary Islands as well, he is probably, despite having a bit of a vested interest, like I said, he is probably a better place to get the real information from, as opposed to getting it from the mainstream media. I'm sure most people watching this channel kind of don't trust the mainstream media or pretty much anything they say anymore. They'll tell you one thing, but you need to go to someone who is actually at the location and going around it and showing you what's really what, which kind of totally conflicts with what the mainstream media is saying. So when I was watching this video that I'm going to recommend, this bloke in Lanzarote, I'll leave a link to it in the description box below, by the way, very much reminded me of when Debbie Hicks, you know, the lady from Swindon, decided to do a little walkabout around her local hospital in 2020 and found some stuff that you really wouldn't have expected to have found, bearing in mind what was supposedly going on around that kind of time. I won't say any more about it, but I'm sure you know about these people who were walking around hospitals in 2020, and that is where you got the real picture as opposed to, you know, believing the mainstream media. And I would suggest that is a good policy to keep on using, and to do it with this Spanish Psy-Op, as I call it. So do check out this guy's video in the description box below, and I think you'll get a better picture of what's really going on there in Spain in these tourist locations. And don't let it put you off if you fancy booking a summer holiday in any of these places. So yeah, yet another Psy-Op, but they're so easy to spot now, aren't they? And you know, we are in quite a fortunate position that we have got the knowledge where we can spot these Psy-Ops easily. But I'll let you go and do that, let you go and watch that film, and I'll be back soon. Tim from Fair Play Now, thanks for watching.